How's everybody doing? Today I'm going to be setting up a saltwater aquarium. So this is going to be basically what my goal in my project for this tank is going to be: the easiest, simple saltwater aquarium. So I have my 20-gallon tank here. I have some of my supplies. I already have my instant ocean salt. I have some dried rock because I don't want to go with live rock. One, to save money, make this an easy, simple setup and cost effective, and I also don't want to get any bristle worms or different nuisance that hide in those rocks. And then also here I have some of my marine sand. So first thing we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to fill the tank up. I don't have any fish or anything yet, so obviously I'm setting this up ahead of time. I'm actually in the fish room, so the room is heated. I don't have to worry about a heater. And my plan is to run this off of a sponge filter. So before anyone jumps up and down and says you can't do it, that's kind of the whole goal of this tank, is to do a very low-tech, cost-effective saltwater aquarium that still looks nice and stays clean and has healthy fish. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to fill the aquarium. We're going to dechlorinate the water. We're using tap water. And as we're filling that tank, I'm going to start adding some salt. For the salt, you want to use 1 cup for every 2 gallons. So we're going to put 10 cups of salt in here. We're going to fill it up from the sink. We're going to dechlorinate it. And then I'm going to let everything cycle in there for a few hours, maybe overnight. I'm going to put an air stone in there, and I might actually put a wave maker just to get good circulation, make sure all of the salt dissolves into the water. And then after that settles, we're going to place our rock in there. It's good to put your rock first in a real small tank, maybe 10 gallons, even a 20-gallon tank. The rock doesn't matter as much. You can do sand then rock because you're not going to have a large amount of it. But whenever you're doing, especially if you have like a 75, 90-gallon aquarium, you want to place the rock first so it doesn't have sand underneath that's going to shift. Especially when you have some gobies, some fish in there that are going to dig in the sand. They're going to dig under those rocks and they're going to kick out the sand, and the rocks are going to shift and they can fall. A lot of things you want to avoid. So we're going to fill the tank up. Let's get that all set up. I'm going to do that now. Then hopefully later we can place our rocks and then add some sand in there. Since this is dry sand, I'm probably going to siphon some water out of the tank into a bucket, mix the sand up, kind of help it sink so it doesn't float so much, and I get some of the murkiness out. And then we're just going to slowly add it in there. I could do the rocks and sand now, then fill it up, but I want to mix the salt in this tank, so I think it might be a little bit easier if I don't have the substrate in there. But you could probably do that either way. It doesn't really matter. But let's go ahead and fill the tank up. So now that we have our tank filling up, we're going to go ahead and chlorinate the water. I just recently did a video on this if you want to look at how to make your own dechlorinator and to save some money. This is that same dechlorinator I'm using. So I'm going to treat for 25 gallons of water. Obviously this is a 20-gallon aquarium if I didn't say that. You want to obviously dose the whole tank. You can sometimes do a little bit extra. Just don't do anything crazy like 50 or 60 gallons of dechlorinator for a 20-gallon. It's just overkill. But now we have that happening. Since I know this tank's going to sit for a few hours, if not overnight, I'm filling it with slightly warmer water to help me dissolve the salt a little bit faster. But with this, a half cup treats 1 gallon of water. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 cups of salt here. So I have my measuring here. It's good to do a little bit less because you always can add more or add more. But if you have to add more water because you have too much salt, that's a little bit harder to do. You have to do a water change, or just don't fill the tank all the way. But I'm going to go ahead and just start dumping my salt in here. There's 2, and I'm going to put 10 cups. So now that we have the tank filled, I actually did 9 cups of salt, so I plan on adding another cup after this all settles. But I want to let this kind of all settle in there. I'm going to throw an air stone in here. We'll turn that on. We have this on the central air, so this is really nice. To set this tank up, besides the actual salt, a lot of the materials I already had basically. But this tank so far is just, we have the tank, we have the air source, we have the salt in the tank. we're going to go ahead and add the sand and the rocks probably in a few hours from now, and we're going to test it. And I'll show you how we're going to test the salinity of the water after this all clears up. Alright, so I let a day or two pass. I let everything settle in there. My salt level, as I expected, might be a little bit high, even though I followed the directions and I underdosed. So I went ahead and drained an inch or two of water out of there, and I'm going to fill it up with just fresh water to get my salinity where I want it to be. Right now it's at like 0.024. I want it to be around 0.022. The way you can test for that, I highly recommend getting a refractometer. Probably saying that wrong, it's kind of late, but basically what you're going to do is you put a couple of drops of your water on this tab, you close it, you hold it up to the light, and you look through that hole there, and it's going to give you a reading. So right now it's a little bit high, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to go ahead and put some of my rock in there and sand, and we'll keep moving forward with this saltwater tank. So here we go at our rocks. I have like 5 or 6 rocks. I'm going to use 3 for this tank because it's not that large of a tank, and these are pretty big rocks. I probably could use even less rocks, but what I plan on doing is letting this grow beneficial bacteria on it so I can eventually move it to a larger tank. That's kind of my plan. So if I have extra rock in here and it grows a lot of beneficial bacteria, I can always move it to another saltwater aquarium and kind of have more than I need, more than I really need. I'm trying to make a little bit of a cave here, and right there works for right now. It's gonna be pretty simple. I can always play around with it. Also good to mention that I turned off my air stone I had in here, and that was kind of helped circulating the water. We're gonna go ahead and add some substrate. This is just like a actually you can use for African cichlids, saltwater marine tanks, even reef tanks. I'll show a picture of the bag. I was gonna try to pre-sink this, but it's kind of like a rock where it's pretty heavy, so I don't think we'll have any problems with this. It should be pretty easy to gravel back in the future if I need to. But like I said before, we're gonna do a lot of videos on this tank and kind of just show the progress of it. This is kind of just a project tank. I'm curious how it's gonna work. There's a chance it doesn't work out great, but I honestly think it's gonna work out well. May not be the prettiest thing at first, but this is this kind of project. I like to try different things, have a little bit of fun in the fish room. But we're just gonna add a real thin layer of this to the bottom. Again, more surface area in the tank, the more bacteria can grow. That's true for freshwater and saltwater. But we're gonna go ahead and just scoop this out of the little container, and that's pretty easy. It's gonna sink really well. Probably gonna cloud the tank up, be a little bit dusty at first. But that'll all settle, and any particles in there or dirt will come out over time with water changes. This is kind of dirty. I can see a lot of stuff floating, so I'll probably take a net through here and get any of those floating pieces of dirt and debris. But I'm not real worried about it. I would recommend rinsing it, but do as I say, not as I do. But this might be my last scoop here. I always can add more. To take it out, it's going to be a pain. So less is more to start with. But let's go ahead, get any of it off the rocks that we need to. Rearrange things a little bit. Yes. But sorry if this video is a little bit choppy. I'm doing water changes in the back right now in my other tank, so I'm keeping an eye on things so they don't flood any tanks. But excited to have this tank up and running. Get my sponge filter, and I think I'm gonna do a clownfish in this tank. Let me know what you guys would like to see in this tank. If I should do some dandios or anything like that, or just let me know what you think should be in this tank. But I want to do kind of like one solo clownfish for my first saltwater aquarium. That looks pretty clowny, but you can get an idea, kind of a vision of the tank. This is going to be a super low maintenance, basic saltwater aquarium, so I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to share with you guys. Most videos you're going to watch with saltwater tanks is going to be like your die-hard saltwater lover, which is great, and I do love all that stuff, but I also like to show the maintenance side, the realistic. I don't want to scare anyone away. I want to try to get people into saltwater, myself included. So do it as low tech as possible. You always can grow from it, but to be not overwhelmed and just kind of take this stab and go for it. dive into saltwater. That's kind of my goal for myself and for others in this video. But this is going to be another second till we go to the next step for you guys, but this is going to be a couple week-long process for me. Not so much because I need the tank to cycle or anything, more so just because I'm really busy and I got a lot going on. But stay tuned. We're going to go ahead, probably fill this tank up a few inches, and then go to the pet store, get our sponge filter and a fish for. So that'll be where we lead off from here. But before we do that, I'm going to go through and just kind of net off the top of this. I actually am going to show you this so you can see what I'm talking about. But I just took a little net there. It looks like dirt, like almost like little pieces of wood, chunks all on the top of this tank, and that was after I added the substrate. So definitely some dirt in this, not dirt, but you know what I mean, it's just dirty in that substrate. So to rinse it would be really good, but all the stuff will get picked up in your filter for the most part, and over time it's going to settle. With water changes it's going to come out, but there's a lot of stuff in there. I only added a little bit to the tank, but I'm going to go ahead and net that out. We're going to add a few inches of water to this tank. We'll keep going forward from there, and just to show you guys, I am doing water changes on my freshwater tanks tonight, so sorry if it's a little choppy, but I'm trying to get a lot done here and kind of share it all with you guys. So let's go ahead. The next footage should be us going to the pet store or coming home with some fish.
Oh, you got a big tank though, so I have to take that. You don't have those little holes they have with, but if you have such a big tank, you have to fix it. Yeah, you can get away with stuff like that. Was that flower pot?
Got our fish. Alright guys, so we're back from the pet store. I showed a couple clips of some of the fish in the tanks there. I did end up getting one of those. He's hanging out in this bag right now, just floating him, temperature acclimating. As you can see, the tank cleared up pretty well. I got a few spots I'm going to fix the gravel there, and I did buy a sponge filter from them. So that's kind of the whole point of this tank. Not many places will do this, and actually the owner or the manager I talked to that said it would be fine, they weren't working today, so it was a little bit harder for me to do it, but I was kind of persistent. I didn't want to be an annoying customer, but I kind of was. It's basically the reason I went to the store was to get a sponge filter and a fish to kind of, for this project I'm doing. So after talking for a little bit, they were really nice and they let me do it. So all we're going to do now, I'm letting this fish float. I'm going to double check the salinity in the tank, make sure it's good. You can see that the tank cleared up. I'm going to hook the sponge filter up, remove the air stone, and I'm just going to release the fish. I worked at a pet store for years. Whenever we'd order fish, they come from a far distance away, and all you'd really do is float the fish, cut the bags, dump them in the net, and put them in the tank. I know there's better ways of doing this, and obviously whenever you're at a pet store where you have hundreds of thousands of fish showing up every week, the proper acclimation's not always possible, and the water they're sitting in is very dirty. But basically I'm going to do that. I might add a little bit of water to the bag, but as long as the temperature is close and the salinity is close, I'm going to go and just add this guy. But let's go ahead. I'm going to put down the camera. We're going to hook up our sponge filter, and I'm going to show you the fish we got. Alright, so we're going to cut off the air. Open up our sponge filter we got here. Check the salinity. It is 1.022, which is exactly what I was aiming for. We're going to go ahead and remove all our lids here. I'm going to put the fish into a side container so we can take a look at them, and I also want to test the salinity of the store water. But let's keep moving forward and we'll check out the tank. Alright, so here we have our sponge filter, and this is the one that was running in one of the tanks at the store. So I'm pretty comfortable that this is going to be a cycled sponge filter. It obviously is. They had some concerns with me cross-contaminating. Just because any store they're going to have, I'm assuming why they said this. One, because they probably don't want to sell their sponge filters, because if they did that all the time, they would probably run out. Even though I think all stores should do that, especially your mom and pop stores. If you're going to sell cycled sponge filters for my opinion, double the cost of what they cost on the shelf. This was like an $8 sponge filter, and they just charged me that, which is really nice of them. But say they cost you around 10 bucks, sell them for 20. It doesn't really cost you anything. You're using them in your tanks anyways. Even if you run 2 sponge filters in every tank, and then you sell from them, you can date how old they are. I think all pet stores should do that because it would really help out customers and them. I get it though, it's probably a hassle, and they sell a lot of products that kind of it would fight against. So I definitely understand that, where you're selling your bacterias for $10, $20 all day long, multiple times for multiple uses versus a sponge filter. But at the same time, someone's gonna do it anyways. I don't know, just my opinion. But here we got the sponge filter running. We're pretty much just gonna get the fish out of here and let them loose. Change of plans, guys. Okay, so I know this is happening real fast for you guys, but I'm going around testing some things. I tested the water in the bag where the sponge filter was, and it was almost at 0.03. So a lot higher than what I was expecting. I wouldn't be surprised to see the stores, especially with fish only, having around like 2.6 or something like that, but definitely under 3. I didn't know you could even do it that high, but obviously these fish can adapt to stuff. And they're also probably selling a lot of fish on the weekend, so they're constantly taking water out of their tanks. But you think, if anything, they would be low in salinity because they probably top it off at the end of the day, but don't add salt. Maybe they added salt, I don't know. I don't want to ramble, and I'm not sure what's going on here. But basically what I'm going to do is I have my fish here. We're going to take a look at them. I have these hang-on breeder boxes. I'm gonna let it just trickle in water from the tank, and I'm normally gonna get rid of the store water, but this is a brand new tank. There's no other fish in this, and I'm also using their sponge filter, so if there was anything that's in their water that I'm trying to avoid, it would happen regardless. But I'm gonna go ahead and add the fish and its water to this container while it's empty, and I'm gonna let just trickle water from the tank to slowly acclimate it, and there he is right there. So you can see I got a white clownfish. This guy was really cool. Besides the fact of what I was talking about, the salinity, that's kind of concerning. Scares me a little bit, but this guy was really cool in the store. He was super active, and he was one of the few fish in the tank that came up to the front of the glass like right away, and he was kind of checking me out. I'll clean this up for us. But I kind of put my hand up. I do this all the time with my own fish to see if they kind of come up to feed, and he was doing that right in the store, which was pretty cool. So there we go, I just dropped him right in there. You can kind of see him. I think this guy is awesome. He had a lot of cool colors in his face, and he's like an all white. He'll look cool with the white background. And I kind of want to do a solo clownfish. They had some, these were all captive bred in the store, at least in the one area of their clownfish. We'll go a little bit closer so we can check this guy out, but kind of concerned about the salinity here. I don't know how big of a deal this is going to be. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Like I said, I'm going to keep you guys updated on this tank. Forbid anything happen, I lose the fish, I definitely will let you guys know. But I'm gonna let this just barely, you can see in the very top corner, just trickle in here of water from the tank. And this is gonna be very clean water because it's a brand new tank. It's got the cycled sponge filter running, so it should prevent any ammonia. I'm not gonna feed this guy for at least 2 days, and when I start to feed him, it's gonna be small amounts. But I'll let this just slowly keep filling up and overflowing the other side, so it's gonna go from 0.03 to 0.022. I probably should add some salt to the tank, but as soon as I do that, if he does okay, I'm going to start dwindling back to 0.02224, kind of what's recommended. But yeah, guys, I was hoping we could look at this guy in the tank, but I'm going to let this happen probably for a day, and then tomorrow, hopefully everything's okay, and I'll release him to the tank. I was hoping to upload this video tonight, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. Thank you guys for watching. I think I'll probably end the video here. So you can see we got our fish hanging out. He's slowly acclimating, which I was gonna do the old plop and drop on him. But now we got our breeder box there. I gotta put my lids back on the tank. But here's the tank, real simple. I told you I'd show you a picture of that bag of the sand. I'll just do it now. The Carib Sea right there. Most pet stores will have stuff like this, or the same bag or similar to it. Hopefully you can see that. It's not a real big deal what you use. But I remember saying I was going to do that, and I don't really want to add a picture. But here's the tank, real simple. I know I'm probably repeating myself. We had the sponge filter, some rock there. The reason I didn't want to do live rock is to save on cost, and I hate bristle worms. For any of you guys that have saltwater tanks, you know what I mean. It's these little worms covered in bristles, and they hang out in the live rock and in the sand. They probably help clean up the tank, but they're just a nuisance, and if you ever grab them, it really hurts. I've almost done it a few times working at the store, but I never have. But I kind of like the look of the clean rock, starting fresh, knowing everything for the most part is sterile in this tank. So thanks again for watching, guys. This is part one of many episodes to your first saltwater tank, low cost, low budget, whatever you can do. I left today with a sponge filter and a fish for like 30 bucks. I had a gift card, granted, so it was like 20 bucks off. I bought a tank and a setup there, so I got a discount in the mail. I had like $17 towards the store, but I did drive like an hour to get to this store. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you guys think, what you want to see. Ask me questions. I'll do my best to answer. Hopefully none of you guys are offended by this tank. I think it's going to be a really cool, simple saltwater tank. Help people get into the hobby that aren't already into saltwater. And hopefully everything goes well, and I'm definitely going to keep you guys updated. So you don't miss any of my videos. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell at the bottom also. So whenever I upload new videos, you guys get notified and you can watch them. But thank you all again. Stay tuned. Check out some of my older videos. I'll post here around the screen. I have a fish room. I have a lot of freshwater tanks. Just getting started on the saltwater, so check out those old videos. Thanks again, guys. Comment below and stay tuned for more videos.